Hi everyone. Something that not everyone tells you is that to create your dream retirement life can be a completely chaotic process. It's not calm, it's not slow, it's not always clear. It's absolute chaos, especially at the beginning part of the process. You all know, perhaps, if you've watched my videos in the past, that I have a dream. I have a dream to live half time in Canada and half time in Australia. I've done a whole video on this topic. And lately, in the last, I would say 2 weeks, I'm slowly getting a little bit closer to making that dream come true, though I still have a ways to go. But the process has been so stressful. I cannot even tell you how stressed out I have been. And just carrying on with my day-to-day life, my day-to-day YouTube filming and everything else amidst the chaos that I'm experiencing right now. So I thought it would be cool to talk about this because I think that people face this issue whenever there's like huge life changes. So for example, when you're going into retirement, or if you want to make significant changes after you retire, or even something as simple as when you're getting married, or if you're getting divorced, or if you're having children. There are times in your life where you have this dream life in the back of your mind, but to actually get there, to get to that place where you feel like I am living it, it is a road of chaos. And people don't often talk about that chaos. They always say, oh, look where I was and look where I am now. But they don't often talk about all of the angst that comes in the middle. So let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Raina and this is Small Retired Life. On my channel, we talk about all things retirement, living our best life in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. If you're new, welcome here. So let's talk about, in a very brief way, about my dream life. My goal is to live about 6 or 7 months in Canada and then spend the remaining time in Melbourne in Australia. That way, I experience both sets of grandchildren. I have one set here in Calgary and one set in Melbourne. Now, to get to that place where I can spend so much time in Melbourne, it means that I have to truly simplify and downsize my life here in Calgary. It's really expensive to live in two places. And the only way that I can make this possible is if I sell my slightly bigger townhouse. It's slightly bigger more than I need, around 1,300 and some square feet, and move in to a condominium apartment. So sell this place, buy an apartment in a different place. I have had a building that I've been keeping track of to see if any units will come up for sale for the last couple of years. It is a building that's only about 5 doors down from where I live currently in my current townhome, right on the river, the exact same neighborhood, everything being the same, except that I would be trading almost 1,400 square feet to about 1,000 square feet. And I would also be living in a home where I could just lock the door and leave because that particular building has security, it has a concierge, it has a lot of amenities. And so it's safer to just take off for many months at a time and leave your home. There is nothing more stressful in the world than having to sell a home, buy a home, get everything ready to sell the home, and then deal with whatever issues come up whenever you're buying a new property. It's expensive, there's chaos, things never go according to plan. And even just the build up to that actually happening is extremely chaotic and stressful. To go from a bigger place to a smaller place, you have to downsize your things, get rid of things you're not using, and really purge a lot of stuff, even stuff perhaps that has been difficult to purge because you're attached to it or you really love it. But if you're moving into a smaller place or planning to move into a smaller place, you need to downsize. Now, if you're going through a really huge life transition, going into retirement or while you're in retirement, I want you to know this. The chaos doesn't mean that you're doing things wrong. If anything, it means you're doing everything right. Any kind of change that you embark upon in life, I don't care what it is, will include a certain amount of chaos. And in my view, that chaos translates to action. It means that you're actively going after whatever it is that your dream is. You can't get to somewhere without having a little bit of a mess around you throughout the process. If you're just sitting around waiting for things to happen, they typically don't. I find in North American society, we have got to this place where we think that somehow we're owed something, that things should just happen, or that we should just manifest them and they will happen. I am so not of that school of if you manifest something, it will automatically happen. I have the view that when you manifest something, you actually have a dream and you have a goal, and typically you will need to take steps to make it happen. So it's not the manifesting and some kind of magical thinking that made it happen. It's disciplined steps, and it's all the chaos that you have had to go through to actually get to that end result. Let's be honest, anytime you want to create a new dream life, you have to disrupt the old one. In order to get those peaceful mornings and that cozy feeling and the satisfaction of being in a place where you want to be at, you need to create chaos before all of that. In my case, to make my dream come true, I have to downsize. And downsizing is not just about getting a smaller place. Like I mentioned, it means that you have to look at your things and you have to let go. And with things, sometimes there's stories. I talked about in my last video about how when we declutter, we don't need to get rid of things that have meaning and that give us joy and that have a story behind them. But when you're downsizing, the inevitable truth is that you might have to do that. You might have to make a choice between two things that you really love, and you might have to give up one of them. Downsizing can also mean renovating. It might mean that if you put up your home for sale, you have to stage it. Nowadays, it seems like you can't sell a home without staging it. And again, that means decluttering. It might mean fixing things that you've kind of not bothered to fix, and now you have to spend all this money to fix them. Inevitably, something breaks when you're trying to sell a home. It's almost Murphy's Law, and you're putting out a good sum of money to fix it because you have to fix it. Also, if you're purchasing a new home, or even if you're just going into a new home and you're renting it, a smaller home, there may need to be renovations that you have to go through. And let me say, after having renovated this townhome from scratch, in other words, I pretty much gutted it and renovated everything. That whole process is definitely never smooth. You have to expect chaos. There's things that always go wrong, and there is so much stress involved. Even if you're just going to a tiny little apartment and you're going to be renting, you will likely need to fix something or make something work for your own situation, and it always costs money, and it's very unsettling. These disruptions can especially feel daunting and disturbing when you're retired. When we're retired, we expect peace and calm. We expect that our life slows down. Yet we also still continue to have dreams, and we may want to tweak our retired life. So in order to do that, we have to go through this chaos. But because we've got out of the habit of being in stress and of having chaos around us, when it does hit, it seems so much more daunting and it impacts us in a really big way. In this phase of life, when things are supposed to be calmer, if we're downsizing, we're dealing with financial decisions, we're selling and buying at home, so there's all of these deals and haggling and working with other people to make that happen. That may include lifestyle shifts, and also physically when we're older, maybe we're not at the same place as we were when we are younger. And so these types of outputs of energy can be a little bit harder on our body, and we may feel more tired. Our mental health may suffer as a result of it. If you're going through really large transitions and you're feeling overtired and stretched and stressed out, that doesn't mean you're less than or that you're doing something wrong. It just means you're living and you're shifting and you're expanding and you're moving towards something that is a goal or a dream. It also means that you're just plain human. When we as human beings go through some major changes, it's normal to feel chaos and stress. There's just so many things in some of these situations that we have zero control over. And that's the biggest part of the issue, is that we feel out of control. We can't direct other people's choices. If you're trying to, let's say, get a loan for a mortgage or something like that, you don't really have that much power over the bank. There are people working there who are making decisions. They have their own processes, and you just have to kind of put up with it. When there's a transition process, there's always 3 stages. There is the beginning, which is the concept, the start of the dream, where the excitement is palpable. You kind of make a decision to do something, and you have this certain idea, and you have a certain goal in mind, and it's very exciting. And then there's the end of it, when the entire process is actually done and you are now in the new phase. That could mean living in a smaller place or living in a different country or finishing a big marathon. It is basically the end of that creative journey. But in the middle of all of that is what I call the messy middle. It's that part in the middle where the chaos is in full swing. You're trying to navigate all of these different things happening around you, people and events, things that are out of your control, and you're actually looking at whatever is going on and you're thinking, is this really worth it? Do I want to continue? And it's also the place where a lot of people give up. It might be that if you're looking to downsize and you start decluttering and it is really overwhelming, it starts to consume your mind and your everyday life. Often people will be like, you know what, I'm just gonna not do this. I'm going to continue as I've been going. I'm happy there. I'm going to give up on my dream. And that's where they give up, is when all of this chaos interrupts their happily ever after thoughts. I think what happens is that the stress becomes the thing. It is the thing you're experiencing. And the dream becomes so much further away that you don't really see it clearly anymore. All you're seeing is the chaos. And so it's kind of easy to give up on the dream because you don't want to take the discomfort of the chaos. This is where I tell myself that you cannot judge your future life on the basis of something temporary, something that's just happening right now. Whatever stress and chaos happens towards your journey to a dream life is temporary. It is the circumstances that are happening at this moment. And you need to keep going back to what the original dream is so that you understand the path forward and you can get past the temporary chaos. Often when we get into retirement, it actually is a transition lifestyle. People work their entire lives and then they retire and they don't really have 100% clear concept of what retirement might be like. And you may get into retirement and you think it's going to be one thing, but when you start living it, you realize this is not the thing for you. And that's totally normal. When we start living a life, and especially a life we haven't lived before, it's like going to grade one. We have to start at the beginning. And as we progress along, we get a better idea of where we want to end up. So often, people that retire get into this transition phase where they retire, they kind of live their life for a few years, and then they figure out what they really want to do. So they're actually in a transition and they have to move towards that dream life. And to get there, they need to segue through a bunch of chaos. Currently, life is absolute chaos around me. But what I try to focus on is the why. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I hate winters here and I want to have a year of mostly sun and warm weather. I'm doing this because I want to see both sets of grandchildren grow up. I'm doing this because now is the time where I'm still healthy and I'm still on the younger end of the retirement spectrum. When I'm in my 80s, I may not be able to do this. I may not be able to live half a year there and half a year here. So this is the moment. In order for that to happen, I need to get through this transition of uncertainty and feeling a little bit out of control. I choose to remind myself that the chaos is temporary and the way I deal with it is one step and one decision at a time. What I'm doing right now is every morning when I have my cup of coffee, I pull out my iPad and I make a bunch of to-do lists. And every day I have tasks that I need to get through, but I write them down because then I'm reminded of what I need to do. And I only really think about those tasks and getting them done, getting through them. Every time I get to the end of a day and I can check off a bunch of things on my list of things to do, I feel so good and I feel like I have a little bit more control over what is happening to me and around me. I know if I'm going to move into a smaller place down the road, I really need to declutter. So doing it a couple of shelves at a time or a couple of drawers at a time makes it seem more manageable. Get rid of one box of things, make one call. Call a realtor and get information about how much you can sell your place for, how much you can buy a new place for. Be as informed as you possibly can on anything that has to do with all of the different tasks and processes that will be required for you to accomplish your dream. Let go of perfection. Nothing in life is perfect. Absolutely nothing is perfect. Every time you choose something positive, even if it's a positive choice, there might be another positive choice that you haven't chosen. Therefore, there is a loss. So there's always a loss when you're making choices because you can only choose one thing potentially. So I think it's important to remember that you don't always have to make the perfect choice. You just have to make a good choice. For example, I have this dream apartment ideal in mind. The exact right apartment I want to buy and how I want to renovate it and where it's going to be and how it's going to look and all of that. Well, not all of those things can happen. And so I'm trying to make decisions that give me more or less something that I'm going to be happy with, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm trying to let go of the perfect journey to my dream life and instead focus on things I can control and focus on the tasks that I can accomplish to get myself to the place where I'm more or less living the life I want to live. I also think that sometimes the way to think about chaos is not something that we simply get through, but think of chaos as movement. And actually going through life is all about movement. Shifting from one phase to another phase to another phase means movement, and chaos is movement. Whenever we move from one place to another, there is a journey, and in that journey there will be occurrences. And so I think of the chaos that's happening whenever I'm trying to accomplish some kind of a dream or some kind of a goal. I think of the chaos as movement towards that. It's not necessarily a negative thing. Yes, it certainly can feel negative in the moment if the chaos is, detrimental, like things are not going well. But even then, I still try to tell myself, it is just moving from this one place to the next. Nothing in life changes without movement. Nothing changes without disruption. As human beings, we often just want to be comfortable. We want to feel good all the time. But the reality is that if we want to accomplish something, or if we want to have a certain kind of life, disruption is necessary. And if we're willing to face the disruption, if we're willing to face the chaos, if we're willing to move with all of these moments, then we will actually seize opportunities that could be so amazing. Transitions are always messy, even if you're going to end up somewhere beautiful. I'm one of these optimists. I typically believe that even though things can be very hard, at the end of the day, I'm going to win, because my focus and my mentality, the way I think, the way I perceive situations is I always think they're an opportunity and that there's something good at the end of that journey. And so I'm willing to really put up with the chaos and the transitionary moments that get me to wherever I want to be. So my dream life is always not on the side of perfection, but rather it's on the side of this moment. And what I mean by that is I have a certain vision. I want to be in a place that makes me feel good, makes me feel happy, makes me feel peaceful, but that I don't need to worry about as much as I worry about my current home. I want a smaller place, less to clean. I don't particularly want a yard to look after, but I want a fantastic balcony that I can decorate. So my dream life is not on the other side of perfection. It's just on the other side of this, the chaos and the transition that is necessary to get there. If you're going through a big transition or a big change, I would love to hear how you're dealing with it. I always have so many comments in my comment section of people that are downsizing or moving to be closer to children or moving to a different country in order to be able to retire at all. I would love to hear how you're going through this transition, because I'm definitely going through a transition, and I'll talk more about that in a different video because I'm not quite there yet, but I would love to hear how other people are doing it, how you're handling the changes and the stress and all of those transition moments that come with the journey. All right, this is all I have for this week. I will see you all next week at my regular time. Bye.